Welcome to episode number 1 of the Pioneers Tutoring and Speech podcast called Your Child is Not the Problem. Every episode, we sit down with people who are experts in their field who are turning struggling kids into confident learners. Today, we're joined by Alicia Riera, business manager of Pioneers Tutoring and Speech, who's going to pull back the curtain on what this business looks like from an administrative viewpoint. Here it is. So, Alicia.
Adrian.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So, Alicia, you've been with Pioneers from essentially its inception for a very long time. And you've been working alongside our sister, Gabby.
Yeah.
Now, in the early days, what did Pioneers look like back then versus now and what's developed?
I mean, I think the core philosophies have always remained intact. The vision that Gabby's had has always remained the same. And the motto that we have, which is that every child can learn, is still very much ingrained in everything that we do. The difference between the two is just the size. I mean, the level of expansion that we have is amazing. I mean, we've gone from Gabby tutoring one-on-one to a team of over 70 staff.
Wow.
So the growth has been phenomenal. And it goes back to, I guess, being able to deliver those results that parents want to see, because you're not staying that long in the industry without being able to deliver results.
Totally.
So, the difference is not in our approach, not in our philosophies, not in what we are, the results or what we're aiming to do, but in our growth.
And what do you think's fueling that growth? Obviously, you're at the helm of that, being the business manager and working directly with Gabby and making sure her vision gets implemented and executed. What do you think is fueling that growth?
What's fueling the growth? Unfortunately, I feel that the growth is being fueled by the fact that we're not reaching these kids in the way that they need. When I was at school, there was one child in the whole school that had ADHD. And now we're seeing a lot more kids that are struggling, that are having learning challenges, learning difficulties, and they just don't do well in a one-size-fits-all approach in the classrooms. So what was standard going back, 15 years ago when I was at school to what it is now, it's a very different view. So what's fueling the expansion is the fact that the approach that we have in our education system, unfortunately, is not hitting the mark. And that's not a dig at anyone or at the system itself or the industry itself, because obviously we have teachers that are really trying and really putting their all into it. But the way in which it's set up, it's almost impossible to get to these kids. So parents are forced to outsource the work and outsource the intervention, because to the level that we deliver it can't be done in that classroom.
Totally.
Yeah.
So if I got this correct, which I do because I'm your brother,
Yes.
you came from a corporate background.
Yep.
Right? So you'd made it sort of somewhat up the corporate ladder in insurance.
Yeah.
And then you saw your sister Gabby building this. Where was that moment where you realized that what Gabby was building was more than a business and something that you would jump ship from a cushy job as something that had a lot of safety around it to something that was probably had a very small likelihood of success in the early days, at least, just purely based off how many small businesses actually make it. What made you decide to make that jump? What about what she was building made you decide to make that jump?
The purpose, just being able to help kids and seeing a real difference. I mean, not to say my job wasn't fulfilling. It was. I worked in insurance, and I was helping people access funds in a very vulnerable position in their lives when either they couldn't go to work temporarily or permanently couldn't return to work. So that was fulfilling. However, being able to make a difference in children, which is our next generation, and seeing that ripple effect, because, you hear from people that do great things. And, it stems from what I've seen, mentors or people that have inspired them, or, some sort of thing that has really shifted their view of themselves, which Gabby talks about previously. And that most of the time comes from a teacher. So if we're really making a difference in these kids' lives early on, we have not only the opportunity to change their trajectory, but also the the flow on effect of that to others. So there's nothing more rewarding than working with children and being able to change, especially with what we do, because the kids that we see, these are their fundamental skills. These are things that are needed in everyday living skills. They're not just getting 100% on a spelling test or, getting a 99 ATAR. We're talking about, your fundamental skills of being able to read, write, spell,
Mm.
basic arithmetic, basic living skills that these kids need in life, and being able to take a child that doesn't believe in themselves to now believing in themselves. It's very rewarding.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like it's much deeper than academic performance and more like how do we make kids more functional in life?
Mm,
Their ability to read, write, and spell is at the base of all of that. So
exactly.
that makes sense. Now, obviously, being the business manager, you're across everything, right? From the initial touch point, someone reaches out,
Yep.
says, I'd like to work with Pioneers,
Yeah.
to the time they get in an appointment with a learning consultation,
Mm.
and all the way through until they're scheduled for sessions and actually beginning sessions and then checking calls and everything. You're across all of that. So what has to go right in all of that for us to get, or you to get, the product that you're looking for or the result that you're looking for with these families?
Oh, a great team. So the people that we work with, if everyone, knows their job, is trained in their job, feels competent in their role, then each one of them can get the outcomes that we're looking for. And each one of them doing their bit adds to the final product that we're going for, which is progress with these children or hitting their goals that we set with them. So from, meeting the family from the first time to scheduling them in, to training our staff, to hiring our staff, to, working with these families closely, to checking in on them, to reporting on their progress. Every bit that we do in our business relies on that individual person in that area of the business doing their job competently. And it helps that we're in the education space because we apply the same principles that we do with children to our staff.
Mm.
So no question is silly. Um, anything that our staff need, we really nurture them. Our training manager is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
We really nurture them through the process to make sure that they feel competent in their
Mm.
role, and they know that they can get the same result with whatever child that they see.
Yeah, totally. It's an interesting sort of dynamic there because you've got a service that you're offering, which is, it's with kids and it's a lot of fun, I'm sure, at
Mm.
times. And, it's a very purpose driven mission. And then you've got the dry subject of administration and managing people and making sure that the people are doing what was initially set out by the founder. Um, are there any non-negotiables for the staff or the people you train or work with that make, your job a little easier if they follow that?
I guess their purpose is a non-negotiable. The people that we look for need to have at the root or at the core of their being is that they want to work with kids and that they love working with kids and they have a passion within education. So every single person that works for us in some way has that drive to want to see children do well and want to make a difference to the future generations. That's a non-negotiable. Like
Mm.
you have to be. This isn't a side gig.
Yeah, yeah.
This isn't something you do on the weekends. This is for working professionals that really care about the results they get with these kids. That's what we're looking for.
Mm.
Because, obviously we all need to make a living and money's great and we all want to make a decent living and we want to pay our staff well, of course. But at the root of that has to be the purpose and has to be that we want to help these kids.
Yeah. And do you think that's what separates? Because obviously, I'm sure you've overseen the end result of a lot of educators working with kids.
Yeah.
Would you say that's the differentiator when it comes to, you've got an educator who's very technically proficient on paper, they're very qualified,
Mm.
versus maybe one that's not so experienced or doesn't have as many qualifications, but that purpose or that passion that you're looking for is more evident? Is that the differentiator there with results and performance of your staff?
Definitely a contributing factor for sure. I mean, obviously, if you're looking at on paper and someone has all these qualifications and all these, it looks good on paper, that's great. But yeah, at the root of it is the passion, the want to see, and also the view of the child is very. This is something that Gabby really talks about heavily or talks to a lot. Is the view that that child can learn and the view past the learning challenges or the delays in their learning or the diagnoses that they have, because a lot of time parents will come to me and they'll say, the school had they know about the diagnosis, and because of that they limit the amount of work or the amount of expectations they have on the child. So they'll say to me, oh, they just sat in the office and they played on an iPad. Believe it or not, this actually happens. And the parent's like, but I want more for my child. I want them. And it comes down to the view, because over time teachers can start to believe that that child, because of that diagnosis, will only ever get that far or will only ever be able to learn so much. So as soon as you strip that away and, you go in there with the view that this child can learn, then you start to actually see progress. So I think, yes, the passion, but also what view they have of that child
Mm,
is definitely a factor.
yeah, totally. Okay. So obviously, in the early days when you're working in Pioneers,
Yeah.
um, to now, where it's a national movement,
Yeah.
started from Gabby tutoring at a kitchen table
Mm,
to now
mm.
hundreds of specialists across Australia. Hundreds of kids that we're working with across Australia. Um, what do you think stayed the same in all of that?
Gabby. I'm gonna
And
cry.
I want to pull back the curtain on that. Who is Gabriella Gray?
I'm gonna cry. He's gonna have to edit this out. Um, what I've seen consistent with who Gabby is that um she just really cares about people. But the main thing I've seen is she's always been around kids. Kids have always gravitated to her. She's kind, she cares. And, sometimes that is the missing ingredient, is that the care factor's gone or the hope is gone for teachers because they've tried so hard and they can't get results, or they can, but then it doesn't stick. And so I think with Gabby, who she is, the root of it is that she just loves kids. And I think that part of her is always there, of being, that childlike person, or the innocence is still there, and the want for people to see a child for who they are, who they really are, and not, a label or a, I don't like to use the word label, but, not an idea about this child just because they can't do something, or they struggle in an area. Is just that, every child's unique. And that's probably something that I've learned from Gabby, is to appreciate the quirkiness or appreciate the differences in these kids, because it really is what makes them so unique and makes them who they are. So trying to say that, try to normalize things. And I know that we have, we have benchmarks that we want to reach for our kids, and we have milestones, but having a standard norm really then makes those people that sit out of that norm feel different, or not look the same, when really maybe that is their superpower.
Mm,
The fact that that child doesn't, learn in that way, but then is, plays the piano amazingly, or can hear the music, or hear colors when they hear the music. All these amazing stories you hear about these kids that just see things differently, or people in general. It gets diluted because we're saying that we all need to be the same and we all need to hit this benchmark at this certain time or this certain age, and then we lose that creativity in it. So I think, I mean, I've gone off now, but I think who Gabby is just a person that really cares and sees a child for who they are. And that has really been ingrained in our business, to not, treat any child differently or have a different view of them, or any which way you want to look at it, is really just knowing that child is who they are.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I hope you think the same of your brother.
I'm not going to cry about you, Adrian. No, you're amazing too. You're amazing as well.
It's okay. It's okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand completely. So because we're got to wrap up here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you one more question, which
Okay.
is what we ask all our podcast guests, and that is,
Okay.
what do these words mean to you? Your child is not the problem.
I think it gives, like Gabby said, it gives parents confidence that their child is not the thing that needs to be scrutinized. Their child is not the thing that we should be looking at per se. It's more, how can we change things so that this child can flourish? In what way? What is the environmental factors that need to shift so that we can get the best out of this child? And even having the training that I have, going through the business and taking on the philosophies that Gabby has ingrained in this business, even makes me look at my child differently. Like, I look at my son sometimes, he's rolling on the floor, or, he's jumping up and down off the walls, or, he's struggling with his spelling, which he's always struggled with, his literacy. And I look at that, and then I'm like, hold on, Alicia, like, take a step back. Look at all the good things that, look at all the great things that he does. Like, he's an amazing football player, and I'm talking about soccer here. The amazing football player. He is funny. He's kind. He cares about others. And I think for parents, I speak to many, many parents. I think that at the root of all this, yes, they're coming in because their child is struggling with the reading and spelling, but at the root of all this, really, parents just want their children to be good people and to be able to contribute to society and to help others. And that's the root. And that's what I hear from parents a lot. And I want parents to know that, that is our view as well. We are working on their literacy, but ultimately we want these kids to flourish in whatever they do and be successful in whatever they do. And so for me, that's what it means. It means just to take a step back sometimes and just let them be who they are. And with all their quirkiness and with all their jumping around and with all their, their gifts, you could call them, or their superpowers, just let them be.
That's beautiful. I
Yeah.
think we'll leave it there.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
All right.